January 20th, 2026, Voice of Wales exclusive, and Britain wakes up to a familiar rumble as the royal storm slams back onto home soil. Before breakfast, Buckingham Palace issued a firm and unmistakable statement, rejecting every single demand submitted by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle ahead of their anticipated court appearances in the United Kingdom next week. The official communiqué left zero room for spin. It stated that no member of the royal household, active or retired, shall extend representative status or ceremonial privilege to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex in connection with their civil litigation matters. The message cut even deeper, adding that any such claim is without consent or recognition of the Crown. This was not a clarification. It was a shutdown. That declaration came after Meghan Markle, through her legal team, submitted a confidential list of conditions that immediately set off alarms inside palace walls. According to multiple sources, the list demanded the complete lockdown of 4 entire floors of the Hyatt Regency Hotel in London, with all staff required to address her as Her Royal Highness. Despite being formally stripped of that style in early 2020, the list also reportedly included demands for bulletproof glass at every venue she might attend, a private fleet of luxury vehicles with armed escorts, and a full personal operation, including a chef, stylist, driver assistant, and PR staff housed across 4 separate rooms. Palace officials didn't deliberate. The request was rejected on the spot. But the denial wasn't the end of it. Senior insiders confirm the list was deliberately leaked to top press editors as a warning shot, signalling that the royal family intends to distance itself publicly and permanently from the Sussexes' actions. This wasn't just a refusal, it was a line drawn in ink. According to internal briefings, what finally pushed the already strained relationship past the breaking point was Meghan's self-declared title. Specifically, her language around returning with her crown. That phrase detonated inside the institution. During a press moment outside LAX, Meghan told cameras that the Duchess of Sussex returns to Britain with her crown intact. Those words spread like wildfire online, and not in the way her camp expected. Instead of authority, critics heard defiance, and the backlash followed fast. At the heart of the unfolding crisis sits Prince Harry's legal campaign against the Daily Mail and The Sun. His claim alleges that since 2021, the outlets engaged in a coordinated defamation operation fueled by payments from rival factions inside the palace, including, most explosively, Prince William's household itself. Harry's filings accuse media operatives of phone hacking private voicemails, bribing police officers for confidential records, and unlawfully accessing medical and financial data. The blame doesn't stop at tabloids. His legal team describes what they call a systemic smear machine, allegedly coordinated between editors and royal courtiers behind the scenes. Meghan's legal argument claims these attacks sabotaged her charitable reputation, distorted her public image, and turned her identity into spectacle. She argues the coverage stripped nuance and reduced her public role to caricature, shaping narratives without context or balance. The list of co-claimants adds weight to the case. Among them are Sir Elton John, David Furnish, Elizabeth Hurley, Doreen Lawrence, Sadie Frost, and Sir Simon Hughes, a lineup that guarantees global attention. The case officially begins Monday, January 22nd, with Harry expected to appear in person at the High Court of Justice in London. Meghan's team has not confirmed whether she will physically enter the courtroom or appear via video, a silence that continues to fuel speculation. Inside the palace, sources say the rejection of Meghan's demands was only the first strike. King Charles III reportedly erupted after reviewing the full list, declaring, "Harry carries royal blood but shields disgrace with the name of Windsor. I will not have the crown worn by a proxy." Those words echoed through senior offices. Princess Anne, upon hearing Meghan's intention to represent the honour of the monarchy, was blunt. "Honour must be earned. Titles aren't theatre props," she reportedly said. Duchess Sophie described the list as insulting to protocol and demeaning to real public service. Prince Edward quietly supported the palace's stance, adding, "The law will speak. We no longer will." Most striking of all was the complete silence from Princess Catherine. Aides confirmed she had no time for the drama and remained focused on her children's cancer fundraising event, scheduled for next Thursday. She offered no response, no acknowledgement, no reaction, because, as one aide put it, she always knew this would collapse under its own weight. This moment isn't just about headlines. It's about boundaries, image, and power. As of this week, the government, police services, and even local councils have been pulled into logistical chaos surrounding Meghan Markle's so-called non-negotiable demands for her potential return. A leaked internal memo dated January 17, 2026, circulated within the Home Office and among senior security officials, detailed what Meghan described as a security-compliant return. The document outlined sweeping requirements. These included armed escort coverage from Heathrow Airport to the High Court, exclusive access to public venues to ensure zero civilian contact, and a convoy of 4 armoured Range Rovers available 24/7. The memo also detailed a Hyatt Royal Suite lockdown covering 4 entire floors, staffed only by security-cleared personnel, with kitchens and spa rooms sterilised daily and access tightly controlled. The demands didn't stop there. A personal chef and medical support team were requested on standby, with all service staff required to address her as Her Royal Highness, a title officially removed in 2020. The Home Office responded swiftly. Citing precedent and national budget constraints, officials issued a curt reply stating that the United Kingdom provides security only for serving members of the royal household, and the Duchess of Sussex does not qualify. Meghan's lawyers pushed back anyway, arguing her symbolic association with the Crown makes her a unique constitutional case. They claimed security was not a privilege, but a requirement to protect institutional image, an argument that immediately ignited legal debate and public ridicule. Columnists mocked the attempt to frame a celebrity-scale operation as constitutional necessity. Critics also pointed to Meghan's brand launches, revealed just days before court motions were filed, an $18 leather bookmark under her lifestyle imprint, a luxury gift box called Moment to Unwind, featuring monogrammed honey jars and bespoke herbal teas, an upcoming cookbook tied to her Netflix series set for spring release. Social media pounced. One headline summed it up brutally: Meghan's royal lawsuit, courtroom by day, checkout cart by night. A former palace advisor noted, "She wants the title stripped from the letterhead but printed on the shopping bag." Inside the courtroom, frustration is growing. Justice Timothy Nicklin is reportedly unimpressed with the conduct of Prince Harry's legal team. Lead counsel David Sherborne has faced scrutiny after key evidence packets were submitted 48 hours late. One witness, Gavin Burrows, retracted his statement entirely, claiming it had been filed without consent. The court is also facing delays due to last-minute requests for closed hearings, moves the judge reportedly warned against. During a January 18th pre-trial review, Justice Nicklin allegedly told Sherborne, "The integrity of this court cannot be anchored to shifting sands of celebrity counsel. Any attempt to manipulate procedure for optics would be met with firm rebuke." Though publicly silent, the palace has continued internal briefings. King Charles is said to be furious, not just at the spectacle, but at Harry's persistent claim to represent royal honour. One aide quoted the king saying, "He is not a soldier of the crown. He is a private man acting on private motives." Princess Anne reportedly slammed her hand on the table when shown Meghan's HRH request. What she wants is not status. It is submission. Duchess Sophie was more restrained but sharp. If you must demand reverence, you likely do not deserve it. Princess Catherine remained disengaged, even when shown documents linking product launches to court appearances. Insiders say she paused, then replied coolly, "They should try being useful for once." At the core of Prince Harry's legal crusade lies a deeply personal allegation, one aimed not at the press, but at his own brother. In documents submitted under seal and later partially leaked, Harry's legal team accuses Kensington Palace of active participation in reputational sabotage. The claim states that between March 2021 and October 2023, a communications pipeline existed between select senior aides to Prince William and reporters at both The Sun and the Daily Mail. The allegations centre on privileged access, strategic briefings, and coordinated narratives. According to the filings, unflattering op-eds about Meghan's behaviour, selectively leaked details from private family meetings, and misleading headlines about staff conflicts were allegedly filtered and framed for impact. In one internal memo, Harry's legal counsel refers to the operation by name, the Kensington filter. What started as a whispered phrase has now detonated across social media and newsrooms alike. The Kensington filter is no longer insider shorthand. It's become a cultural flashpoint, dissected by commentators, lawyers, and former palace staff who say the quiet parts were never meant to be this loud. A senior former staffer, speaking anonymously to ITV from inside the institution, admitted there were moments when staff were encouraged to guide the narrative. Some did it cautiously, weighing consequences, while others, in the staffer's words, did it with glee. The admission alone sent shockwaves through royal media circles. While no direct financial paper trail has yet been formally proven, Harry's legal team is placing heavy weight on a growing cache of WhatsApp transcripts and internal email leaks. Among them is a February 2022 email chain between a palace aide and a Mail on Sunday editor titled "Talking Points Sussex Volatility." That subject line alone raised eyebrows. Another leaked chat log dated June 2023 allegedly refers to Meghan as unusable without scandal. The phrase ricocheted online within hours. The palace has officially declined to comment, but insiders say Prince William is deeply angered by the accusation and views it as a direct assault on his integrity. While William has issued no public statement, sources close to the Prince of Wales say he sees the claim as a catastrophic betrayal, not just professionally, but personally. One senior royal correspondent reportedly said, "To be accused of sabotaging your own brother's marriage for media leverage is a break no Christmas lunch can repair." According to internal strategy notes, William has instructed his team to remain measured and silent, focusing instead on engagements in Manchester and Birmingham. The goal, aides say, is stability, not spectacle. But the silence cracked this week when a sharp rebuke surfaced. A close friend of William, quoted anonymously in The Telegraph, delivered a line that cut clean. "Harry believes pain is power, but inflicting it on your brother does not make you the heir." The message landed hard. The tension didn't start today. It traces back to January 2021 during the now infamous Sandringham summit. While the meeting was publicly framed as a negotiation over the Sussex's exit, internal attendees say the mood shifted quickly. According to an aide present in the room, William made it clear he did not trust Meghan. Harry interpreted that stance as jealousy, but later said what hurt most was that no one stopped the press from tearing her apart. That moment is now being re-examined through the lens of the current lawsuit. Meghan's team claims the summit was ceremonial severance disguised as diplomacy. During a recent Netflix roundtable, Meghan herself hinted at this, saying, "It wasn't an exit, it was an exile." The phrasing reignited debate. Palace records show Princess Anne was among the few who openly objected to how the Sussex media fallout was handled at the time. A May 2022 briefing note quotes Anne warning, "These public displays of grievance dishonour us all. The press is fire. Don't fan it with your pride." The line now feels prophetic. Duchess Sophie, though more restrained, reportedly took issue with Meghan's insistence on preserving her Duchess identity. In a private letter now archived in the Royal Correspondence Office, Sophie wrote, "Titles mean service, not shelter. If we're not giving, we're just playing dress-up." That letter has since resurfaced in legal chatter. Princess Catherine, as ever, refused to engage. Aides confirmed she would quietly leave the room whenever Meghan's name came up. During 2022 planning sessions, Catherine believed the monarchy's response should be institutional, not emotional. Silence, not spectacle. Royal commentators warned the fallout from this court case could ripple beyond Britain. Legal analyst Dr. Oliver Stratton noted, "This is no longer a tabloid spat. It's a symbolic trial about power, lineage, and legitimacy. At the centre of it all stands the image of two brothers, once united by grief, now divided by legacy. If there was ever a moment where optics and authenticity collided, it is now. Meghan Markle's re-emergence into the British legal spotlight was expected to be strategic, subtle, measured, wrapped in public service language. Instead, her dramatic phrasing, "The Duchess of Sussex returns with her crown," unleashed a cultural and constitutional backlash. Even critics didn't expect it. The phrase, delivered outside Los Angeles International Airport before boarding a private jet, was not part of a prepared statement. Multiple sources insist it was Meghan's own off-the-cuff declaration, and once spoken, it couldn't be pulled back. Royal insiders watched the footage in disbelief. The British public reacted with a mix of ridicule, concern, and something deeper, discomfort. The Crown comment signalled more than confidence. Critics say it hinted at a bid to reclaim symbolic authority. From that moment on, Meghan's return stopped looking like litigation and started looking like performance, not just as a claimant, but as a self-declared representative of monarchy itself. Her actions since have only deepened the divide. Upon arriving at her private Hyatt suite, booked under an alias and reportedly guarded by private contractors from a US-based agency, Meghan's team issued a statement claiming her presence was not for herself, but for the institution. Palace officials were furious. "She no longer serves it," one senior palace aide told The Times off the record. That door was closed. She locked it herself. The frustration was unmistakable. Even more jarring were reports that internal emails were sent to UK media requesting Meghan be referred to as Her Royal Highness, Duchess of Sussex, during court coverage. Despite the couple's 2020 agreement to relinquish the HRH styling, the insistence shattered any remaining illusion of humility. Editorial backlash followed fast. Commentators described her as draped in royal cloth she no longer owns, branding her a commercial duchess with a self-styled crown and no kingdom. But beyond headlines, something far more damaging collapsed: Meghan's charity persona. For years, philanthropy had been her moral anchor, foundations, causes, carefully curated visits. But this return to Britain coincided not with a new humanitarian initiative. Instead, it aligned with a product drop. On January 18th, while legal motions were filed at the High Court, Meghan's lifestyle brand quietly released 3 products in the US market: an $18 leather bookmark embossed with a minimalist crown, a $58 Moment to Unwind luxury gift box featuring honey and loose-leaf tea, a tea towel embroidered with a Sussex crest, and a teaser for an upcoming Netflix cookbook. Critics called it tone-deaf and opportunistic. On social media, one royal historian wrote, "When you use the shadow of the monarchy to sell honey, you forfeit the right to call yourself a public servant." Things worsened when 2 retail analytics firms suggested the sold-out labels on Meghan's storefront may have been manipulated to create artificial scarcity. Neither product crossed 3,000 units sold in the first 24 hours, according to one firm. Yet online buzz told a different story. Within 48 hours, the phrase "royal goop" began trending. Comparisons were drawn to Gwyneth Paltrow's wellness empire, but without the years of groundwork. One New York branding strategist summed it up sharply: "A coronation without strategy." Still, Meghan's team has doubled down. Insiders claim she's in talks with an American publisher for a follow-up memoir, this time focused on how legacy and femininity are monetized. Others say she's planning a US-based foundation centered on image sovereignty for women in leadership. What's clear is that the backlash has made her UK charitable presence nearly non-viable. A spokesperson for a London women's shelter Meghan once supported confirmed there's been no communication from her team in over 14 months, and none expected under the current climate. Meanwhile, Catherine continues to disappear, and that absence speaks volumes. On January 19th, while Meghan's media storm raged through central London, the Princess of Wales was in Northumberland visiting a children's cancer care centre. No makeup, no designer gown, just a navy overcoat and muddy boots. She spoke softly with nurses, hugged grieving parents, and walked the halls for 2 hours, without a single press photographer. Royal aides say the decision was deliberate. She chose to remind people what duty looks like. said a senior Kensington Palace figure, and when asked that evening whether she had any comment on the Duchess of Sussex's return with the crown, Catherine offered only a polite smile and walked away, and that quiet exit said more than any headline ever could. It wasn't rude, it wasn't cold, it wasn't dramatic, but it landed hard. In royal circles, silence like that isn't empty, it's intentional. Courtiers later whispered that moment echoed louder than anything said that week, a clean break with no mess left behind. For nearly 3 years, King Charles maintained a careful distance that felt calculated and controlled. He didn't rush to defend, and he didn't strike back. He stood in the middle, neither embracing nor punishing, choosing restraint when pressure screamed for reaction. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped away from royal duties in 2020, it was Charles who pushed the message of unity, understanding, and family healing. When the Oprah interview aired and accusations rattled the monarchy, it was Charles who leaned on the now famous phrase, "Recollections may vary," choosing diplomacy over confrontation. But January 2026 changed everything. On the evening of January 19th, behind closed doors at Clarence House, the gloves finally came off. No cameras, no leaks, no sympathy statements. Senior legal advisors, trusted courtiers, and communications directors gathered around a long, polished table as King Charles III gave a clear instruction: prepare a response, not to tabloids, not to commentators, but directly to Harry and Meghan themselves. Sources inside the room say the shift was immediate and unmistakable. This was no longer about managing headlines or smoothing family tensions. This was about defending the institution and, more critically, defending the king's own integrity. So what pushed him over the line? According to multiple insiders, it wasn't Meghan's security demands or even the optics of her courtroom appearances. The real catalyst arrived on January 18th, sealed and submitted quietly to the High Court by Harry's legal team. Inside that filing was a detailed timeline accusing unnamed palace figures of media manipulation and internal sabotage, beginning in early 2021. And woven through the document were direct references to Prince William, Catherine, and a senior royal advisor with direct access to the king. That final phrase landed like a grenade. Multiple palace sources confirm that wording is widely believed to point toward Clive Alderton, King Charles's longtime private secretary. In one move, Harry's filing appeared to accuse the monarch's own office of enabling defamatory coverage against him and Meghan. This wasn't collateral damage anymore. This was a direct strike. It stopped being about protecting William, one senior official said. It became about Charles himself being put on trial by his own son. By sunrise the next morning, the tone had hardened. King Charles requested an immediate consultation with the Attorney General. Hours later, his lead legal counsel was photographed entering Clarence House through a private side entrance, carrying a black leather briefcase clearly marked confidential. Briefings seen by insiders referenced a reputational strategy already in motion, no longer hypothetical, no longer restrained. Behind palace walls, a pre-action protocol was drafted. Under UK law, this legal step is required before launching a defamation case. The focus was precise and deliberate. Statements made by Harry and Meghan to US media between 2021 and 2025, interviews with The Cut, appearances on Variety, claims made on CBS, allegations repeated and amplified through the Netflix docu-series. Palace lawyers reportedly argue that these statements created reputational harm to active working royals, particularly Prince William and Catherine. Claims implying institutional bias tied directly to the monarch's inner circle. Suggestions that palace silence equaled guilt, and most critically, repeated public use of royal identity to legitimize commercial projects and legal strategies. One internal memo described it bluntly: theatrical pressure designed to force silence. Legal experts say if Charles proceeds, it would be unprecedented in modern royal history. A reigning monarch taking legal action against his own son and daughter-in-law would shatter convention. But palace insiders insist this is not a bluff. Patience cost him too much, one aide said. This isn't revenge. It's about ending the performance. What's equally telling is how closely this moment aligns with Catherine's image protection strategy. Over the last year, particularly following her public health battle, Catherine has refused to respond publicly to Meghan's claims. No interviews, no leaks, no rebuttals. Even when accusations escalated from emotional neglect to allegations of cruelty, Catherine remained silent. But that silence, palace strategists feared, was being misread. She was being painted as cold when she was actually disciplined, said one constitutional historian. So now the Crown speaks for her, and it speaks through Charles. One advisor put it more bluntly. They're not letting Meghan sell another product on Catherine's back. At the heart of the King's legal turning point lies a ghost from 2021, the period following the Oprah interview. Publicly, the palace response was restrained. Privately, Charles was deeply shaken. He believed space would bring healing, not escalation. A private memo, later referenced by The Telegraph, reportedly quotes Charles writing in April 2021, "To stand accused of failing one's child is one pain. To be rendered voiceless in that accusation is a greater one still." And yet, no counter-narrative was offered. Over time, silence hardened into vulnerability. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan's narrative evolved. Private grievances turned into public indictments. Unverified tensions became global accusations. Palace officials now say those omissions may become evidence. "We didn't speak when we should have," one senior figure admitted. "Now we speak where we must." A potential lawsuit would reshape royal norms. Could Harry lose remaining privileges? Would formal retractions be demanded? Could Meghan's branding face injunctions? Legal analysts suggest the palace may invoke the Crown Protection Clause, a rarely used legal principle allowing defence of royal symbols, titles, and inherited dignity. It's obscure, it's powerful, and it's real. If used, Charles's team could argue that Meghan's branding and court filings misrepresent royal authority and confuse public understanding. As of January 20th, Meghan's legal team had not commented publicly, though sources close to them privately claim any move to silence a woman's lived experience would face strong resistance. The palace appears unbothered. January 22nd, 2026 arrives under grey London skies. Barricades rise outside the Royal Courts of Justice by dawn. International media floods the streets. Protesters gather under umbrellas. Supporters shout across barriers. The world watches. Meghan arrives first, stepping out in an ivory trench coat tailored to perfection. She pauses, gloved hand raised, not a wave but a calculated stillness. Her team surrounds her. PR handlers, security, a stylist adjusting her collar. The message is clear. She wants to be seen as a duchess, not just a litigant. Harry arrives later, alone, exiting a dark Range Rover, his expression tight. His left hand trembles as he grips his coat. No eye contact. No performance. Inside Courtroom 1, Justice Nicklin takes his seat. Silence falls. The list of plaintiffs is read aloud. Prince Harry, Baroness Doreen Lawrence, Elton John, David Furnish, Sadie Frost, Sir Simon Hughes. Each alleges unlawful information gathering. Each seeks justice. But only one name dominates the room, Harry's. David Sherborne opens arguments, but his tone feels defensive. Justice Nicklin interrupts twice, pressing for clarity on accusations involving Prince William's office and questioning why key witnesses have either withdrawn or refused to appear. Tension spikes as vague documents hint at media payments linked to palace connections. No names, no proof. A senior aide whispers, "If that's it, they're already in trouble." Then comes the moment that changes the room. The judge references a formal submission from Buckingham Palace stating that Their Majesties King Charles III and Queen Camilla, along with the Prince and Princess of Wales, do not authorise or support the plaintiff's claim to represent the interests or reputation of the royal household. A second letter follows, signed by Princess Anne, Prince Edward, and the Duchess of Edinburgh. The claimant's attempt to associate private grievances with the dignity of the Crown is wholly rejected. We serve the public, not personal narratives. Catherine issues no letter. Observers note that absence is the message. She remains untouched, unbothered. While Meghan seeks relevance, Catherine builds a future monarchy. Justice Nicklin closes with words that sting. This court exists to examine truth, not to amplify theatre. The gavel falls. Meghan exits quickly, composed but silent. Harry lingers, photographed staring at the floor. For a brief second, he looks lost, swallowed by noise too loud to grieve. What comes next remains uncertain. Sanctions? A countersuit? Retractions? One thing is clear. This wasn't just a court case. It was a reckoning. The monarchy has stopped absorbing blows. The silence is over. And if you want to keep up with what happens next, make sure you like the video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe, because this story is far from finished.